Let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Is there a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Agenda is approved. Is there anyone on Zoom for visitors or public comment? Okay, we have nobody in the audience present today. Moving on to consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Consent agenda is approved. Moving on, public hearing. We'll now open the public hearing at 7:02 p.m. on the USDA water revenue bond. Administrator Harding will do the report.
Hi, so this is an ordinance that's required for us to complete our USDA bond application. So this is not a commitment. We're not taking out a loan at this moment, but we are completing our application to secure the money in this fiscal year. And to be honest with you, I'm not 100% sure. We'll look at all the funding options when we actually get ready to get money and see which one is the most favorable for us at that moment. But we do need to try to secure or put a placeholder on the money from USDA. And the timing, we're kind of trying to thread a needle here where we keep ourselves lots of options open, but we also preserve the best funding mechanism from all options. So it's still a moving target. That's why you're seeing stuff continue to come forward. And what will happen is at some point, we'll put together all of those funding options that are available to us. We'll do a financial analysis on those, on which is the least impactful to the community. It could be, and most very likely will be, a combination of funding from a variety of agencies. But tonight, what we need is this ordinance approved. In order to approve it tonight, and I'm making an obligation here, I just want you to let you know how the process unfolds. Under our charter, to approve an ordinance at a single meeting has to be unanimous from the council. And so if you have questions, if you're not really sure about it, feel free to ask me those questions. But we are looking for unanimous approval in 2 readings for this. And what will happen is this ordinance will go with the rest of our information to USDA. We've had to put together some financial statements, budgetary documents, preliminary engineering report, environmental review. All of these things will go into the application. That application will go from the state office to the federal office, where they will ask them to basically insert our project into their budget for the next fiscal year. And so that's why we're doing this. Happy to answer any questions that you guys may have that I can answer at this time.
Are there any questions?
We did, just for background, we did this very same thing last year to try to make last year's fiscal deadline. If you remember right, we did it in the form of a resolution, and then it ended up, we didn't actually put the application in because the federal government allowed the census data from 2010 to ride another year. And so now we're here. We brought on, as you know, from the last meeting, we brought on our bond counsel, and they're like, let's do an ordinance. That's the way to do it, and to make sure that it's done correctly. So.
And I think technically, at least for the preliminary information we've got, that the loan through USDA would possibly be a better interest rate than what potentially, from at least what I remember hearing from the meetings we've had, you know.
Well, actually, the DEQ interest rate is better. However, the term is shorter.
Okay.
And with USDA, I believe the term is longer. And they have a larger ability to provide loan forgiveness. So they're going to ask, now I'm not saying that they'll get this. Typically they get around $5 million a year loan forgiveness for statewide projects. They're going to ask for a special ask for our project for $6 million in of itself. And they may or may not get that. We'll see. And then what we'll do is we'll do that analysis, counselor, where we sit down and we've got a spreadsheet and we'll look at all of those options and we'll see, what if we do this? Kind of like our forecast model, right? Where we look at it and we'll say, well, if we take this much from this agency and this much from this agency, and we get this much loan forgiveness from both these agencies and the terms are X, what does that equal in payments? And what we're going to do is we're going to look for the least amount of payments, because what that means is the lowest possible rate increase, right? And that's really, but we'll bring all of those things forward. My guess is we'll have a work session. We'll just dedicate it to doing this analysis and talking about those different things. The funding through USDA is only permanent funding, and that's another distinction that we have to think about. We have to have interim funding for the construction phase, because USDA only funds the completed project. So typically what happens is if we were going out for like a bond, like we were going to do a general bond out, what would happen is we would go get an interim bond and we'd qualify for an interim bond. The terms and interest rates and things on an interim funding are different than permanent funding. And then once the project's complete, then you go out and get the permanent funding. The good news for us, because this is a wastewater project, is the funding mechanisms are in place through either DEQ or USDA in this particular case for us.
Is that 5 million? You said all statewide, it's for like all statewide fund forgiveness, the 5 million forgiveness?
You know, that's my understanding, but I'll be honest with you, I'm just not knowledgeable enough about how all the different USDA programs work. I'd asked that question and that was the answer that I was given, but you know, I think there's a lot of tweaking with state programs right now. And so I would say to the best of my knowledge, yes. But I'm no USDA expert.
If there's no further questions or deliberation, can we get a motion?
Well, so what we'd want to do, because we're doing a public hearing.
Oh, we gotta close the public hearing.
Yes, we'd want to go and just follow. So see if there's any other testimony, council. If you have any deliberations, we would close the hearing and then go into action.
All right, if there's no further deliberation, I will close the hearing at 7:10 p.m. And now go on to a motion.
Move to approve the first reading of ordinance number 719, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of wastewater revenue bonds to finance improvements to the wastewater system by title only as presented.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. So moving on, we would need a motion for the second reading by title only.
I move for a second reading of ordinance number 719, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of wastewater revenue bonds to finance improvements to the wastewater system by title only.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And just because the way that's worded, could we just have one motion now to approve or adopt ordinance? Please.
Move to adopt ordinance number 719, an ordinance authorizing the issuance of wastewater revenue bonds to finance improvements to the wastewater system by title only.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on to item number 5, old business. There is no old business. Agenda item number 6, new business. There is no new business. The city administrator report.
I have nothing. This is our off-week report. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
Moving on to mayor and councilor reports. Does anyone have anything to report? No?
So unfortunately, Deanna couldn't be here tonight. So she kind of asked if I could help with show you guys, I guess, a ribbon. It was a parade ribbon, first place that our Corn Festival Rock Princesses won for the state and parade on the 4th of July. And I just want to take a moment to kind of thank Deanna and thank, Doug as well, and just everybody that's kind of helped with this, because it's really been an awesome thing for our community. And I think it's provided a really solid role model for, our young people to kind of look up to these little princesses. And I'm really looking forward to the awesome things they're going to accomplish. And just this was awarded to them, and she wanted us to present it to the city to add to our collection.
Excellent.
I saw that on
Awesome.
the community pages. So moving on to good of the order. Is anything for good of the order? Any correspondences? None. We have no executive session tonight, so we can go ahead and end the meeting at 7:13 p.m.